Hey, so back in 2006, right, I was like a junior in high school. I found out about Fighter X. Now, Fighter X, if you don't know, he plays chiptune music, which at the time I called Nintendo music, right? Or Game Boy music. Now, that dude's music was awesome. And it's still awesome because I think he's still going. But back when MySpace was around, mind you, in his top 8, there was a guy, Disaster Piece. Now, Disaster Piece was putting out bangers back in the day. To this day, actually, but now he's doing more soundtracks and movie soundtracks. But back in the day, he was making what was basically progressive rock or metal albums in chiptune. And they were set to video games that didn't exist, so he would just make up a story and then make the soundtrack to it, and it was the coolest shit ever. Now, I grew up in the 90s, born in 88, so I always loved old school, retro Nintendo sounds, Game Boy sounds. So naturally, I want to play chiptune music, but it's the early 2000s, right? 2000 to 2010, and I don't know how to do it. So the classic way to do it was to get an LSDJ cartridge. And what this is basically a game that you put on your Game Boy, and then your Game Boy becomes an instrument. Like it's a game, but you use the sound chip on the Game Boy to make music with it. The point of this whole video is I've been using LSDJ since back in the day to pretty poor to middling results.
Open it up.
And that shit is just way too hard. Like,
ain't nobody got time for that.
So because of that learning curve, I know for me, I kind of stopped using it because everything that I was coming up with was like techno-y and like, you know, sort of EDM, which is not what I wanted, that really. So what I wish that it did was that it was used as an instrument basically, and I could plug it into a keyboard and use it as an instrument in my music that I was already making. And for the longest time, there was absolutely nothing that would let me do that unless it was like a homemade thing that somebody made. There are a bunch of things now, and I'll talk about some of those in later videos because I got it. So in comes this guy, the NES Poly by Chiptunesynth.com. So I'm gonna demo it, I'm gonna review it, and I know you got that gas. So you, at the end of this video, you'll either want to buy it or not. So first of all, the NES Poly is the version 2 of this guy. This is the Arcano chiptune synthesizer, and this was pretty cool in its own right. It had 32 sounds that were very chiptuney. It had a little screen, very clicky buttons. And basically it lets you see, that was one thing. It was USB MIDI, which ain't nobody got that no more. And also it had the MIDI right here to connect the keyboard, and a little 3.5 millimeter output jack for the sound. Now the bad thing about this is that it looked like this. I was scared to break it all the time. When you plug in your cables, the thing just goes everywhere because the cables are way heavier than it. The worst part was this hiss that it had, and it was like a chiptuney sort of old school Game Boy, you know, high pitched hiss. I don't know what to call it. And so if you were trying to make music with this, mixing around that mix was impossible. It just wasn't gonna happen. So there's a website called chiptunesynth.com, and the dude there crowdfunded this guy, right? So the NES Poly was crowdfunded, and I was back in 2020. I sent them an email. I was like, hey man, because they were sold out. I was like,
say man, you gonna have that NES Poly anytime soon?
So he reserved one for me when he did have them, and I bought it. Now don't get fooled by this guy's two knobs here. Like, you can do a lot with it, and I'll show you how to do it in a second. Here's the connections. So it's got the USB type B for the power, the MIDI in for your keyboard, and your mono line out. It's made out of cast aluminum, so solidly built. I've dropped it a whole bunch. I don't know if you can see all the chip paint there from all the times that it's just been thrown around, and it's holding up amazingly. So pretty solid. Now the website claims
the Arcano NES Poly chiptune synthesizer is built to last. Unlike most synthesizers, the NES Poly was designed without cheap electrolytic capacitors which degrade and fail over time. All of the synth's audio signal path capacitors are high quality audio grade film capacitors, and all of the non-signal path capacitors are ceramic and are thus not susceptible to the degradation and failure that plagues their electrolytic counterparts. All of the exposed traces and soldering pads of the NES Poly's printed circuit board are gold-plated to prevent corrosion. The NES Poly features a rugged die-cast aluminum enclosure.
So that shows me that they care about the build quality and the sound quality, and as far as I can tell, they're both true. So as far as the sounds, it's got 4 oscillators that you can use polyphonically, so you can play chords with it. Pretty sick. Now some of the presets, you can only use 2 at a time, because the other 2 are being used for like detuning effects, which is okay. So you can see some more information over on your left, but I gotta be honest with you, I don't even care about half that shit. This video is about how to easily make chiptune music, and I intend to keep it that way by just telling you that these 16 presets are more than enough for you to get all your chiptune sounds for real. I don't think I've ever needed anything else. Maybe for some sound design type stuff, like it doesn't have a noise channel or a percussion channel. So, but you can actually control way more parameters on your MIDI controller. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and in fact, let's go listen to it. Alright, so let's start with some patches here. Now this is as simple as finding a flea and a hound dog. The one on the left here is going to have 8 different wave shapes, aka chiptune sounds, and on the right you have 8 variations that you use with whichever color or wave shape you have selected on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you all of the sounds, and I'll just put it on the red setting here, aka the first one. Originally I used to start from here for some reason. That was my number 1.
Stop it.
Weird.
Get some.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and start. Alright, so now we're in the orange. Ooh. Man, those sound so good. So a lot of these depend on which setting you have on the right here. Some of them work better with others, and I'll go ahead and show you some of those. But man, just the sounds with this one are so good. Like, they're all different kinds of chiptune sounds that you've heard, which is exactly what you want. Ooh. Man. Yeah, this is awesome. Let's go ahead and turn on the Nux Atlantic, because this really comes alive when you add some delay and reverb. I can't play the piano. But that's a pretty cool ambient thing that you can do with this. Alright, let's chill. Let's out. Listen to that, bro. Alright, let's try something else. Or something like that, you know?
Something like that. Some double pedal. Like a breakdown. Making all dissonant. I can't play the. that's a pretty cool like 80s, you know, like soundtrack type shit. Like you know, and some like with some chorus and stuff.
Pretty cool, right? Now let's go with some of the more advanced features. Now again, I don't use them, but I'm still going to show you how to use them just in case you end up buying this and you want to know. So I'm going to be using the Keystep Pro just to give you an idea of how to do these things, but you can do that on your own MIDI controller, I'm sure. So just Google how to send CC messages to insert your MIDI controller name. On the website, there is a user guide to how to use this thing, and it's pretty good. It shows you which parameters go with each CC channel, which is what you're going to use to control them. Also, it still kind of goes over my head, but for the most part, if you take your time with it, it'll show you how to do everything.
Okay, so let's do one that we can hear pretty clearly. So I got this one here, just default settings, I guess. And we're going to try to make the knob number 1 change the LFO of the vibrato. Okay, we're going to go into the control track, and the Keystep Pro is cool because it is like a track and it runs parallel with your 4 regular tracks, so you can sequence the parameter changes like you would sequence the notes. Or you can press the record and play, and while the pattern or the sequence plays, you can basically automate your knob changes. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, another thing is you'll notice once we go to control, the track that we're on, or that we're kind of changing the parameters to, is going to be blinking. If you go to another track, you're just ready to play, just in case you gotta do something there. So you'll have to press control again to control this track. Okay, so let's stick to track 1 because that's where we are. So we're gonna hit shift and project, which is actually gonna be the utility menu. So we're pressing shift, and then I don't think you have to hold it anymore. You're gonna go down all the way to controller. Then you go down to knob 1, and you can see it's got knob 1 through 5. Let's go to knob 1, click CC. Let's go ahead and click that, and there you go. So you can choose one of the parameters that you see on that page on the website. We're going to choose 30, which we're already on, and check it out. The fuck?
I'm so sorry. For some reason, Keystep Pro is always bugging out. I've recorded this once and my dog crashed, so I lost the audio. On this second time recording, the Keystep Pro just stopped controlling the NES Poly for some reason. I tried everything to no avail.
Now I do have some constructive criticism, some wish lists for like a version 2 of this, and I'm gonna get into those right now. First, I told you the build quality was good and everything. If you're OCD, this might be an issue because you see these knobs here. they pretty much go all the way down here instead of ending like where they're supposed to. So I don't give a fuck, but you might. Also in the back here, now this is common with pedals, guitar pedals, right? I play guitar mainly, so this isn't a big deal to me. Back here, if there's like a little gap in between the chassis and the plug, right, or whatever, so you can kind of see inside the pedal. Not a big deal. It's not freaking IP68 water resistant or whatever, but you know, tighten it up, bro. Especially for $250, which is how much this costs. By the way, I'm not gonna say nothing, right? Like, I'm not gonna confirm nor deny, but there may be a discount code at the end of this video. So in a world where you can get the Sonicware 8-bit warps or the Mega Synthesis for around the same price, you know, $250, kind of steep, man. However, let me put it to you this way. This is basically has the form factor of a guitar pedal. It's got the aluminum case, solidly built like a pedal. I'm a guitar player. This has a line out. To me, it's exactly what I wanted from the intro, right? It's like another guitar. It just so happens to be a synthesizer, a chiptune synthesizer. To me, that was the dream. That's like another guitar player in your band, but he's playing chiptune sounds. Speaking of pedals, you can run it through some pedals and it takes them really well. You heard that from the demo. It's a real chiptune synthesizer. It's a synthesizer for $250, right? So now think about that. I've bought pedals for $200, $300, $400, and the pedal just did one thing, right? And you connected it to something else, which was like a guitar or whatever, right? So when you think about it like that, this is a pedal that's an actual synthesizer. But again, to control the rest of the parameters, it doesn't have any knobs on it. You gotta go set it up beforehand. Now, that's another kind of criticism, right? I wish it had more knobs, bro. Put some more knobs on this thing. I got this little knob thing here. It's basically an expression knob. Just put one on the side right here or something, right? Or put some of these knobs, by the way. I love these things. But you know what I mean? Or an expression in. That would be pretty cool. Or is it out? So probably the biggest negative for me, and it might be just because of how I use it. I'm coming at it from like a synth perspective, but if I come at it from a guitar player perspective, it makes perfect sense, right? This is an instrument. Doesn't need to have all these digital didgeridoos, and that is that it only works on MIDI channel 1. So on the Keystep Pro, at least, channel 1 is reserved for either a sequencer or a drum, right? Which this is not. So I cannot use it as like an arpeggiator like you can the other channels. Now I can always sequence the arpeggiator, but you know, then that's creating more trouble than it needs to. And then the biggest thing for me is I have a Korg MS-20, which is trying to emulate the 70s version of it. So that only works on channel 1, but at least that one, you know, I can understand because they're trying to keep it original or whatever. So that means I have to be switching these two and taking turns on channel 1 if I want to play sequences, which I do because I can't play the piano and I need that. I did a bunch of research to see if there was a way to reroute the channel 1 to something else. I bought a little thing, didn't work, and basically the answer that I got from the internet was I need to buy like a super expensive MIDI rerouter controller thing, which I'm not gonna do because nah. So wishlist for the next one, more knobs. Put one of those little dip switch things to control the MIDI channel, like on the Model D by Behringer. Oh, here's another one. Add a noise channel and a drum percussion channel. That would be sick, because as high quality as the sounds are on this thing, I think a noise channel and percussion channel would be sick. Like, just add some sounds. I don't know how you're gonna do it. Do it. And that's about it. So hopefully I was able to show you guys how cool this thing is and how easy it is to use. You don't have to learn how to use LSDJ. That it's cool if you do, but this is way easier for me, and you can hook it up to all these pedals, and it's just cool. Now, big shout out to Vito over at chiptunesynth.com. I don't know the dude, but every time I talk to him, he's super cool, and he hooks it up, right? So he's actually hooking all of y'all up with $30 off, dog. Talk about the price. There go $30 off the top for you guys. All you gotta do is use the code sunset below, and I'll link everything up in the description. So that shout out to him. Go ahead and go buy one, man. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel, like and subscribe to the channel, and what's it called? I'll see you guys on the next one. I got some more cool stuff coming for sure. To mark my words, it'll be awesome. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your night. Cheers, mate.